Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07. It's O'Connor and Company, your morning show. 4 hours of news, talk, analysis, guests, entertainment. It's like a podcast, but with standards and, quality control. And
we're live. There's no editing here, Larry.
And we're live,
unfiltered.
as Patrice Onwuka reminds us. And under FCC guidance. That is the one downside. We can't drop F-bombs left and right like you get at podcasts, but that's okay because we know your kids are in the car.
That's right.
Coming up at 7:05.
And it's not our brand either, Larry, is it?
That's right.
It's
we
not
wouldn't
mine.
do that.
You wouldn't either.
I mean... Coming up at 7:05, Patrick Hedger, Net Choice Director of Policy, talk about yesterday's AI summit that Trump ran. 7:35 brings us Congressman Andy Harris. Commanders finally get a deal from the district council. We'll see what that's all about. 8:05, KT McFarland. I want her to reflect on how the intelligence community was weaponized under Barack Obama. And 8:35, Molly Hemingway, also on that story. Tulsi Gabbard yesterday, again, with an amazing document dump.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely going to get into all of that and all the lies that we've now caught John Brennan in. He went on the record saying a lot of things that were contradicted by the documents that were declassified yesterday. A ton to unpack and get into. First, though, a good morning on this Thursday to Patrice Onwuka. How you doing, Patrice?
I'm great, Larry. Good morning, everybody.
I mentioned podcasts. We have fun making fun of podcasts a lot here. Some podcasts are very good, though. Heck, I have a podcast. This show becomes a podcast,
It does, yes.
That's the thing. This show is a twofer. It's like a transformer. The kids like their Transformers, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a ton of them at our house.
Here we are. We're live. We're on 105.9 FM in the greater Washington metro area, but of course, worldwide on the WMAL app, the internet, wherever you like to stream. But then, magically, within hours of the final vowel heard at 8:59 in the morning, it becomes a podcast. So if you subscribe to podcasts, you can subscribe to this one. Now,
and please do. I mean, please do. You could listen to the podcast later in the day, maybe, stack them and listen to them over the weekend while you're training for a marathon like you, Larry.
That's right.
There's so many times you could catch up on all of our great interviews and woody commentary.
It's very motivating when you're running that last mile in your training day. Also, there's a lot of good podcasts. I listen to podcasts. There's some of them that I really enjoy. We mention this because we have two reasons to talk about podcasts. Well, one, to promote podcasts that we like ours, or Chris Plant's, or Derek Hunter's, or Vince Colonnese's. The
or
other
Sean
reason,
Spicer.
Sure, okay.
Come on, Larry. He regularly has you hosting.
Yeah, I was focusing on the WMAL family of podcasts.
Sure, that's true.
Okay. Or the other reason is to make fun of them, because, well, some podcasts are just cringy, and the Meghan Markle podcast, the Michelle Obama podcast, every single left wing actor under the sun, where they decide they can just plug in a microphone to a computer and start recording themselves, and look, I'm a star. And so we enjoy that as well. But we are aficionados of the spoken word format, even if it's in podcast form rather than live broadcast form. I raise all of this because Time Magazine has assembled a team of journalists, Patrice, to assemble the definitive 100 podcasts that shaped the genre. They call it Time's List of the Best Podcasts of All Time, which is a remarkable statement considering podcasts have pretty much only been around for about 15 years, maybe 18 years. But you know what? Good for Time. They do these listicles a lot out there, these publications. A lot of it is just to get clicks. And here's a little secret as someone who's worked in the internet for many a decade. You put together these lists so that you can generate clicks.
Yes.
Because you only put like 5 or 10 on a page, and so you're guaranteed that people are going to want to look at the entire thing. So you get, instead of just one click to read one story, you get 10 clicks for the list of 100, that sort of thing. So we checked it out, looked at it, and want to say, oh, well, listen, I have friends. I believe I know people in my life who should be included in the list of 100 podcasts that shaped the genre and pushed it forward. I would say Ben Shapiro. Objectively speaking, Ben Shapiro is one of those podcasts. I would say Adam Carolla definitely is one of those podcasts. And, I mean, we're not breaking any news here when we say that the Joe Rogan podcast has absolutely shaped the genre. You cannot tell the story of the 2024 presidential election without mentioning the Joe Rogan podcast. You could also throw in there Theo Vaughn. You could throw, I mean, there's a ton of podcasts in there that also, by the way, cater to a right-of-center audience. In fact, if you look at the consistent list of most listened to podcasts over the last 10 years, consistently you're going to hear those names. Rogan, Carolla, Shapiro. Matt Walsh pops up there a few times now and again.
Megyn Kelly.
Thank you. Of course, Megyn Kelly. Tucker Carlson now,
Tucker Carlson. By the way. Absolutely.
These are not only popular podcasts, but I think they also did shape the genre.
Now, here is who Time included. Let's see if anybody out here has heard of these. Two Dope Queens.
Two Dope Queens.
Okay.
99%. Is that two drugged out homosexuals? Two Dope Queens?
You know, I'm looking at the cover art, and you just you know that they are black people. I don't know if you can call them women. I don't know these days.
You don't want to presume their gender.
I don't want to presume their gender. At best, I can presume their ethnicity. 99% invisible. And that is probably how they rank when you consider their subscriber list.
Yeah.
Armchair Expert. I actually think I have heard of that one, but I never listened to it. The Bill Simons podcast.
I want to step in for a minute. Bill Simon podcast should be on there. It did form the genre. It was very revolutionary. It sort of formed the sports-oriented podcast genre. He deserves to be there. But by the way, you're listing, if you're wondering what this order is, it's alphabetical order.
So that's why we started. Alphabetical. Right. That's why.
But there's Call Her Daddy, by the way, which is the podcast that Kamala Harris flamed out on during the election. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, a comedy podcast. The Daily, which is the New York Times sort of 15-minute daily headline podcast. The point here is you will search in vain for Ben Shapiro, Adam Carolla, Joe Rogan, Matt Walsh, Megyn Kelly, all of those names that I just said that you're all familiar with, that you listen to, that are amongst the top 10 most popular on a daily basis. And, oh, yes, by the way, have a right-of-center perspective. None of them are included in Time Magazine's list of 100 podcasts. The top 100 podcasts. None of them. Not one conservative perspective.
So interestingly, someone asked Grok about this list in the Time thread. Grok said Time excluded Joe Rogan from their 100 best podcast list because he's a threat to their echo chamber. His show platforms unfiltered, diverse views, often politically incorrect, that challenge mainstream narratives on COVID, elections, and free speech. They prioritize, quote, insightful over influential, snubbing the world's biggest podcaster for not towing the establishment line. Bold truth, it's ideological bias, pure and simple. Well, thank you, Grok. Grok summarized it really well.
Yes. And I do like it when Grok tells it like it is. That's exactly what happened here.
I think it is purely just about podcasts that I guess have pushed a particular narrative. There are a lot that are race-driven, LGBTQ-driven, rather than really about, I would love to see any other metric, number of subscribers, number of downloads, number of listens. To me, this is really just about who they picked as culture shaping.
That's right.
They got definition.
They got 5 little Gen Zers in a room together, and they said, hey, what podcast do you listen to? And then what podcast do your parents listen to? And that's how they made the list. It's 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
As you know, the Trump administration has been working with many universities, specifically the Ivy Leagues, to get them to, adhere to the Constitution and basic civil rights in this country for their college students. Columbia, one of the worst offenders, when they allowed their campus to be shut down by masked pro-Hamas protesters funded by shadowy left-wing groups, and they banned Jewish students from being able to walk across the campus. These protesters banned them. Columbia didn't ban them, but Columbia allowed it to happen. Columbia had no repercussions. They tried to prevent the police from arresting people. They allowed these protesters, these rioters, really, to take over buildings on campus and then made nice with them. The faculty joined in. The Trump administration got in and said enough is enough. And they decided if you're going to conduct yourself this way and this is how you're going to run your university, we're going to cut off federal funding for you for all of your research projects or whatever other uses you have for federal funding. We're not going to include the American tax dollars in enriching an entity that violates students' civil rights. It's actually a great use of the power of the executive branch of government. Well, there's been negotiations, ongoing negotiations for the last several months since the Trump administration announced this. And yesterday, a deal was revealed. And boy, oh boy, did Columbia lose. Boy, oh boy, did the Trump administration win. First of all, top line, Columbia University is going to pay more than $220 million for violating Jewish students' civil rights. That's huge. And although, do we have details on where that money is going? Is that a fine that they're paying to according to the federal government?
Well, I'm reading from the Washington Post here. Columbia is requiring Columbia to pay the federal government $200 million to settle claims related to the discriminatory practices, and an additional $21 million to settle investigations brought by the Equal Opportunity Commission, and add some external oversight to the university.
So $200 million is a fine to the federal government, and then an additional $21 million for settlements that go to the students who are claiming discrimination. That's huge and wonderful and amazing. All right, but there's more. They're going to let me give you the breakdown here. They agreed to an independent review to end discrimination in their admissions and hiring processes. In other words, all of the DEI formulas that they had been using to exclude people who were more than qualified to be admitted, but they were excluded because they didn't meet a certain racial or ethnic quota. They are going to ban all masked protests.
Yes, so very good.
Free speech is fine, but you show your face. Disciplinary actions will now be administered by the office of the provost instead of a faculty senate. And they announced serious punishments for those who participated in the library riots when the pro-Hamas protesters took over the library recently. They're also required to report any disciplinary action against students attending on student visas specifically. So if they had to discipline a student for outrageous behavior or what have you, and they're here on a student visa, they're going to report that to the State Department.
You know, what's so interesting about this is that, as Linda McMahon, the education secretary, said, this agreement is a roadmap for, I think, how a lot of these elite institutions are going to have to prepare, what they're going to have to prepare to do going forward if they want to regain the administration's trust. You know, it hits back at so many different facets and real fires that the administration is trying to put out on these campuses, whether it is the mass destructive protest or it's the academic lack of freedom on campus, because these institutions are trying to create echo chambers among the faculty. Now, you might ask, well, why would Columbia pay $220 million? That sounds like a lot of money, but in exchange, the Trump administration is going to restore a good majority of the $400 million in federal grant research funding that's been paused. It's really been frozen. So it's interesting, right? So there's a penalty for bad behavior, and in exchange, they're going to get access to what, core university, core institutional a mission should be, which is research and academic seeking academic
education.
Truth. Education. It really redirects these universities back to what they should be doing.
Yeah, listen, there were Title VI complaints against Columbia, and they were going to lose. The other reason they settled, yes, they want their federal funding restored to the tune of $400 million. But the second reason is, and the real reason that people settle, is because cooler heads prevail, and they realize, we're going to lose. We're going to lose, and our loss will be much heftier than the $200 million. And so that's why these organizations settle. Everyone says, why did CBS settle for $30 million with Trump? Why did ABC News settle for $50? Because they knew they were wrong. Because they knew they were going to lose. That's a big reason why people settle, or they were going to lose in court. Also, one other aspect here, they're going to step up the vetting of foreign applicants. They're going to quiz potential students about the reasons the students have for wanting to study in the U.S., and then they'll share that data with the feds. And they're going to be less reliant on international enrollment in the future. All of this is positive and huge. And by the way, really bad news for Harvard, who's decided not to negotiate with the federal government. They're trying to fight this in court, and this doesn't help them. It's 524.
All right, coming up, it's happening. Some of your favorite hated opinion columnists at the Washington Post are saying goodbye. They're taking buyouts. We'll share with you who's going to be saying bye-bye in this latest buyout announcement and some of the columns she's written. It shouldn't surprise you. It's O'Connor and Company, 5:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37. Thanks for tuning in here on this Thursday morning version of O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 7:05, Patrick Hedger, Net Choice Director of Policy, talk about yesterday's AI Summit and what it means to you. 7:35, Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland. 8:05, KT McFarland. 8:35, Molly Hemingway. Busy morning today with a huge news cycle yesterday that we're going to unpack, and I've got plenty to say about the revelations and the latest document declassification from DNI Tulsi Gabbard, and how John Brennan now has been caught in multiple lies, as have James Comey and James Clapper. It all leads to Barack Obama. It's huge, and we'll get into all of that. We will. I'm Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Patrice, good Thursday to you.
Good Thursday, Larry. I almost said happy. We will reserve that for tomorrow.
As you know, the Washington Post has been trying to sort of reform their brand a bit since the election. It all started actually before the election when Jeff Bezos commanded that they would not endorse a candidate for president. Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post, determined that the newspaper had become way too politicized, way too radical, way too partisan. Now, his demands really just reflect the opinion page. Their reporting is still exactly the same as it's always been, which means lazy journalists in this town who are trying to score a book deal and a TV contract sit and wait for one of their toady friends in the federal government to give them an illegal anonymous leak and a story basically already written and researched for them, and then they just compile it on a word processor, press send, and they win a Pulitzer. That's how journalism works in Washington, D.C., don't
Pretty
you
nice
know?
racket, right?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I don't knock it till you try it, I suppose. But Bezos, who bought the Washington Post, I think, because he thought it was cheaper than hiring an expensive lobbyist firm or law firm, decided that enough was enough. He was wasting way too much money on this thing, and he's starting to cut back. He offered buyouts to a lot of their longtime employees several months ago, and now there's a new round of buyouts, and we're learning some of the columnists at the Washington Post are taking them up on it. Most notable, one Catherine Rampell. Catherine Rampell is a left-wing liberal columnist. She announced yesterday that after 11 years of columnizing, see, right there.
Colonizing, but really with her column.
Columnizing? See, I think if you make up words, you shouldn't be able to be a professional writer on a major newspaper. Columnizing. After 11 years of columnizing at WAPO, I'm taking the buyout. This is my last column. It's my advice to any other lucky pundits who land a perch like this. 11 principles I've aspired to, even if I haven't always achieved them. Oh, well, isn't that nice? It's nice to be able to go out with a bang, write a valedictory like that. I'm sure she wants this column to be her legacy. But, oh, I'm sorry, Catherine, it won't be. It won't be, because we remember what you wrote, just a little under a year ago during the 2024 presidential election. Listen, I have my strong personal opinions about politics, Patrice, and I certainly respect other people for their personal opinions about politics. Make your case, back it up. You've got inches in the Washington Post, to make your case. Go ahead and do it. I'll make my case here on WMAL, and we'll let the people decide. That's fine. But this column that she wrote in August of 2024, it goes well beyond political punditry, and I'm sorry, this deserves to be on her tombstone. Catherine Rampell, here's the headline. Are you ready?
Ready.
Doug Emhoff, modern-day sex symbol. Speaking of the former second husband of the United States, the husband of Kamala Harris, Catherine Rampell did, that it wasn't enough to just say that she thinks that Kamala Harris would be better as the president of the United States because of her experience and her policy positions. No. She had to gaslight the readers of the Washington Post to tell you that her husband, Doug Emhoff, is a sex symbol. As she elaborated and said, Emhoff is secure enough with his own masculinity to sometimes prioritize his wife's ambition over his own. What a hunk. I mean...
Did I just vomit in my throat a little bit?
You may have just had a bit of a regurgitation on the air there. Yeah.
Well, I did. Okay, so look at the date. This was dated August 23rd, 2024. So This is after Joe Biden has stepped out. I don't even remember if this is by the time they had anointed Kamala Harris.
I think this was right around the Democrat National Convention. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
So this was her effort to try to remember. They were trying to make the Kamala Harris and her husband as much a reflective of America as possible. And so to have a female president, you needed and a man standing beside her. Obviously, it seemed like he was an emasculated man, except when he was slapping ex-girlfriends, then he was super masculine. But it was her cleanup job to try to make him seem like somebody that men should want to be like, and obviously then should want to support his husband. Interestingly, I read that at the time. I don't think she mentioned the fact that he, I guess maybe you could say allegedly, maybe not, was physically abusive toward a previous paramour.
No, that didn't make it into the glowing column about how masculine.
How did that not happen? Yeah, because I guess in her mind, sex symbols, I guess they beat their girlfriends. Let's see if she's written about, what's his name, Kilmar Garcia.
Yeah, the Maryland man.
Abrego, exactly, who did the same thing.
I don't think we knew about that part of the story, but we did know that he had left his wife for Kamala Harris. We know that he had an affair with his babysitter and impregnated her. We did know that story by then. But that also didn't get mentioned in her glowing column about how Doug Emhoff was a modern-day sex symbol. So, well, it's been nice to know you, Catherine Rampell. We'll follow your career. She's going to continue as a pundit on MSNBC. By the way, also continuing on MSNBC, but giving up his job at the Washington Post, is left-wing columnist Jonathan Capehart, who also thought Doug Emhoff was a sex symbol, but for very different reasons. So there you go. The libs are leaving, and now they're opening up a lane. Listen, if they offer me the gig, should I be a columnist at the Washington Post, Patrice? What do you think?
Yes.
Well, I don't think I'll take it. I'm happy at Town Hall. But you should. I think your voice on the Washington Post would be fantastic.
Well, I have written a few pieces for them in the past. You never know. If they call me, I'll take it.
You should go knock on their door and put yourself out there.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
I still think about Kamala and how I think she would have been a good choice. I don't care what they say, because she would have done what Lincoln did.
What, tear the nation apart in a civil war?
Free slaves?
Oh, maybe. That's actor Jeff Daniels appearing on a podcast. This one is Nicole Wallace's podcast. Nicole Wallace needs a podcast because she just has a primetime show on MSNBC. But this is Sit Down People. They call it The Best People with Nicole Wallace. So Jeff Daniels, actor, is one of the best people. Jeff Daniels, who, by the way, is really good when Aaron Sorkin is writing lines for him to say, is not quite as articulate when he's just speaking off the cuff. So here he is, a liberal, dyed-in-the-wool liberal, lamenting the American people's choice for president. And as you heard, he still thinks about Kamala. Now, when he says she would have done what Lincoln did, what she means is, according to Jeff Daniels, assemble a team of rivals in the White House. He said this without evidence, though. I'm not so sure that's what she would have done, but let's hear him out.
I still think about Kamala and how I think she would have been a good choice. I don't care what they say, because she would have done what Lincoln did. Liz Cheney would have been Secretary of State.
Team of rivals.
Yeah, Team of Rivals. Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote the book about it. That's what Lincoln did. Surrounded himself with the people who would disagree with him.
Is there any evidence to suggest that Kamala Harris would have surrounded herself with people who disagree with him? You can't point to Liz Cheney because Liz Cheney agreed with her. They were on the same page. They didn't disagree about anything.
And why? And what is the assumption that President Trump doesn't assemble a team of people who disagree with each other, which is also just as valuable? I mean, very often President Trump likes to hear a different viewpoints on different issues, and then he makes the final decision. That is just as valuable as so-called surrounding yourself with people who disagree with you. I actually think that's a recipe for mutiny. But I don't know that, and I don't know that we know that Lincoln did that or would have done that. So he's reading a book. He saw some interesting line. Maybe the intern that prepped him thought, oh, this would be a really good point to make. And it just doesn't resonate the way I think he thought it would.
No, because again, they have this fantasy that's created in their mind about who Kamala Harris was and how Democrats they think that they're super bipartisan and multi-partisan, and they surround themselves. I mean, Joe Biden surrounded himself with nothing but people who agreed with it. Well, listen, Joe Biden didn't actually direct anything in this White House, but they never actually do that. If anything, Trump actually does have. I mean, look at his relationship or past relationship with a lot of people that are in his cabinet. They've disagreed on many things in the past, but they get themselves all on the same page for the president's policies, and that's what's going to happen in any cabinet.
Look at his current cabinet. I mean, he has RFK Jr., who's a former Democrat, and Tulsi Gabbard, again, former Democrat. So this doesn't even make sense.
And Marco Rubio, a former rival on the campaign trail. All right, take a little bit more from Jeff Daniels, because he's an actor. That means he's important. And Nicole Wallace says he's one of the best people.
Not the people who would, take a knee and go, yeah, more tariffs, sir, more. It's the madness of King George. And just the deterioration of the Republican Party. I mean, look, I'm just an actor. What do I know?
Oh, wait. You know what? You're right. Let's stop.
He did get
Let's
something
stop
right
there. We found something we can agree on. We'll leave it there. Thanks, Jeff. Go back to acting. It's 5:53.